everybody, it's Matt the Dice Jugger coming to you with another board game review. This one's a twofer, only because the game is basically the same. Well, they have their differences, but it's the same title. So the first one we're going to take a look at is Coatl, and then the other one we're going to look at is Coatl, the card game. So let's head down to the table and see how these games play, and I'll see you back in a little bit. So here we have a game of Coatl set up. It looks like it's set up for a solo, but I'm just going to show you using one player board how this goes. So it's a fairly simple game where you are collecting pieces to form Coatls, fulfilling these cards as well. So on your turn, you're going to be taking Coatl pieces. Why would you do that? Because, for example, this card is looking for red in the Coatl. It gives 2 points if it's done 3 times, 3 points if it's done 4, and and so on and so forth. Notice too here that the head is on this side of the card and the tail is on this side of the card, meaning that if you come across a card that requires patterns, they have to be going in that direction. You cannot spin it or do anything like that. This is called a prophecy card, and you're trying to do that. So let's say I have my eyes on that prophecy card, so I would take these 2 body parts. Yes, one of them is yellow, but I could see if there's other prophecy cards there. The board does not refill quite yet. It refills when either all the body pieces have been taken or all the head and tail pieces have been taken. When that happens, you're going to go over to a bag, and you have a bag of body Coatl parts, you have a bag of tail Coatl parts, and of course you have a bag of head Coatl parts. So that's the first action of taking Coatl pieces. Notice you only have 8 spaces on your player board. So the other thing you can do is assemble your Coatl. So let's say I had this and that. So on my turn, I could choose to assemble a Coatl. So I take pieces off my board and I put them there, and you're interlocking them. Sorry, thought I did it. There you go. So that's one incomplete Coatl. I will choose to complete it when I want to, when I can attach a head to it, and I can fulfill a temple card. All right? We'll talk about that when we talk about completing Coatls. You can have up to 2 incomplete Coatls on your board, but you cannot start the 3rd Coatl that triggers the end of the game until one of the first 2 is completed. Okay? All right. You can also choose during this time that if you want to fulfill a prophecy card, let's say you had, because you're going to have a hand of prophecy cards. Let's say you had this in hand. You can choose also when you assemble the Coatl to put it with the Coatl that you're building. You can only ever have up to 4 prophecy cards, or you need 1 to 4 to fulfill a Coatl. Okay? So then the other action is to choose prophecy cards from here. And of course that would have filled in when I took that. But like I said, you're also going to have a hand of cards to start the game. You can always take as many prophecy cards as you like, as long as you abide by the 5 card limit in your hand. That does not count towards a temple card. Now, let's talk about completing a Coatl. When you've completed a Coatl, it will basically fulfill as many prophecy cards as you want to, and it's up to 4 per Coatl. Then you need to find a temple card that you fulfilled something about. So, for example, this temple card can have this saying it wants a Coatl with no green and must have 9 pieces. Now, you do not need both. You only need 1. And it can be, if you only did 1, you're going to get 3 points. If you did both, you'll get 7. All right. You do start out the game with 1 prophecy card in hand, so this one needed as many blue pieces as there were yellow pieces, and have 12 pieces of the Coatl. All right. So when you complete your Coatl, you need to fulfill a temple card, and then you flip all your cards face down once the Coatl is completed. Now I would never do this because doesn't have enough point value yet, but that is a complete Coatl. And yes, everyone loves to zhuzh them around. Once someone has completed their 3rd Coatl, everyone will take their final turn, and then that is basically it. You also have these 3 cards here. This is, I'm going to draw a head, a tail, or 2 body segments of your choice from the bag and refill the empty spaces on the board. So this lets you take anything you want from the bags, and then it triggers that this would happen as well. This is taking any temple card from the display and adding it to your hand. And this is discard all prophecy cards that are face up and then resupply them. And you can discard any number of them in your hand. These are special bonuses you can take on your turn. They do not gift you anything at the end, I believe, if you keep them. If not, I will put a correction here. Once the Coatls are done, you'll flip this board over, and it has a score track on it. And most people that I've played this with have just found the color, because I'm blue, and used that to track. And these have 50s on the back of them. One of them should be face up. There we go. That's Coatl. Let's take a look at Coatl, the card game. So here we have Coatl, the card game, set up and ready to go. Of course, I'm only showing you one player, but this would be a two-player game. I chose the red player, and that's just the card for the red player. And you're going to have this in front of you, and I'll show you why this is important in just a moment. You are trying to, of course, fulfill prophecy cards, as you do in regular Coatl, and you're trying to fulfill the objective up there for the end of the game. You have 4 cards in hand. These are called feather cards, and they have the colors of the Coatls from the previous game. And you also have a specific deck of cards with your player number on it, and I'll show you why this is important just in a moment. So on your turn, you're going to place a feather card, and you're going to place 2 feather cards down. And so if I'm trying to fulfill a prophecy, I don't really have anything out there right now that fulfills one of those prophecies, but I can definitely try to fulfill some. So I could play this, because I would have the black to fulfill that, and then we need red, not red, and then red again, but we don't have that. So, let's see. Sorry, I'm just thinking. So you're going to play another card, but instead what you can do is you can choose to discard one card. So let's say I discard that one, to draw a card from the top of the deck. And that has blue. That actually worked out for me. So this is my Coatl. Now I could do this. I can overlay. All right. But I want to try to get blue again and see what would happen. So now after I do that, I fulfill a prophecy. I'm going to do this in a few ways. First, I have this one. Blue, then black. So I'm going to put it near the 1 spot of my card here. Okay. If I happen the next turn to do it again, I would move this to the 2 spot, saying that I have now 5 victory points for this card. If I ever get it a 3rd time, I can move it down here, and I would lock it in place. Because one of the other things you can do on your turn, when you're fulfilling prophecies, is you can steal a prophecy from another player, but you can only steal 1. All right. Once that is done, you're going to refill your hand. So it would take 2 cards. So I can definitely do this again. I could probably even do it for 3 times. And then your opponent would go, and you refill the prophecies, of course. Then your opponent would do the same thing. And then once everyone has taken their turn, the first player places 1 piece of the golden body into the middle of the table to show that it's round 1. Now you're going to do this until it comes time for, and I'll build it for us, until it comes time for the 5th round. On the 5th round, you're going to finally place your head and your tails. So basically each person is going to go into their numbered deck, and these have the heads and tails of the Coatl, and they can use them to fulfill more prophecies if possible. At the end of the game, you're going to count up how many points you got for the leveled up prophecies you had, and remember, there is a possibility to go to 0 if you overlap something, so it would go into there. So if I had 4 cards in here, I would get 20 points. 2 cards in here, I would get 12 points, and then 1 in here, 2 points. And then I would look at the public objective, which is the temple card here. This one, you needed to have a prophecy with that, and that. Those 3 characters. Then it was have a Coatl of greater than or equal to 16. If you get both, it's 7. If you get one, it's 3. That is pretty much it for Coatl, the card game. Now let's head back up and hear my thoughts about both. And we're back. So that's Coatl, both the base game and then the card game. And the card game, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the review, comes with like a micro expansion for the board game. Now, let's start with my thoughts on the games in general and then how they compare to each other. So, as far as Coatl goes, I really enjoyed this. This gets, I would say, 7.75 to an 8 for me, because I really like the way that you have the market out there and you're picking either from the bodies or the heads and tails. And then you're building up 3. You're trying to find the prophecy cards that you can use to put with that Coatl to score, and then the temple cards as well. It was a really neat system. And of course, it does kind of have that building idea where you're like building your Coatls up. And I've seen plenty of people on Instagram and Facebook that go, "Whoa, it's like the thing with the rubber pencil." That's what I see happen with the Coatls. I really enjoyed the fact that when you're taking prophecy cards, you're gonna score them how many times you have that based on the card itself. So, for example, there was one card that just needs red body parts, and if you can get up to 5 of them in your Coatl, you get this many points. But if you only have 3, you still get points, just not as many. I really like that. Not just that you just get points because you have reds in your Coatl. I loved the idea of the different combinations you needed to have with your Coatl, and I really enjoyed the fact that there is a head on one end of the card for the prophecy cards, and the tail on the other end, so that people can't really try and min-max some of the stuff there. Oh, I have it this way, and if you flip it, I have it that way. No, the head is over here, the tail is over here. You need to fulfill that. I never felt restricted or restrained by the 8-piece limit there on the Coatls. I did really feel like sometimes you have to build, because your opponent, especially in a 2-player game, is not taking pieces you need to refill. So sometimes you need to just start your Coatl, because remember, once you start it, you can just keep adding to it. You just can't start your next Coatl. I liked the temple cards a lot. I wish that there were more varieties of them, and I really enjoy the these small bonuses you can get. So why is it only a 7.75 to an 8? I'm not sure, without any notice of an expansion yet, whether or not this was going to remain in the collection. I think it will. It's going to take a few more plays. Jen and I played this about 5-6 times before reviewing it, and I think it's got the legs. It reminds me a lot of early Azul with the market mechanism. And of course, some people are going to call it the toy value with the pieces, but it's not really a toy. So definitely, I would say check out Coatl if you can find it. I'm not sure. I happened upon it in an FLGS, but I've never really seen it in many others, so I don't know what happened with Coatl in the grand scheme of things. So now let's talk about the card game. The card game has a lot to like. It has, very vivid artwork, and the fact that you only build one, and it is basically a timed game, and that you're trying to build stuff up. I really enjoyed the tracker where you start at 0 for any for a card you have, or the first time you put it the 1, and then you move it around until you've maxed out at 3 times you've done the pattern, or you can steal it from somebody else. And of course, once you hit it at 3, it's locked in. No one can steal it. I really enjoyed that. The fact that you can just put on the end or overlap really nice, and that you had your deck of heads and tails, that you weren't, depending on the cards coming out from the deck. I thought that was a really neat addition to ensuring that, when you get to the point when you have to do the head and the tail, that someone's not getting the short end of the stick by not having a head or a tail in their hand. That being said, I think while Coatl is the card game is a really fun game to bring out to restaurants, to anywhere you'd like to bring board games. Jen and I often go to breweries here in Connecticut, and we bring usually 5 or 6 micro games with us, and this is perfect for that. The problem is, I think it's too short. I really think it needs to be just a little bit longer. When Jen and I play, it took us 10 minutes once we really got everything under our nails there. And the box says 25. I can see that with the full player count of 4. I did not try the solo on Coatl the card game. So most likely it is around the 25-minute mark with 4 people. But I wish that you could make another one. Like, if this is the card game, you should be able to make 3 of them. So, how do I think Coatl the card game is in comparison to original Coatl? I think the card game is going to appeal to some people because of the chain mechanism you can do. And that's one of the things that I like the most about it. But I also can bring Coatl to a brewery and have the same footprint on a table as I would with Coatl the card game. I mean, maybe a little bit less because you've got more bags and things, but I feel like if we brought regular, we'd still have a good time. Now, not to say that Coatl the card game is a bad game. It's not a bad game. It's a very good game. And I would say whichever version you find, I would get. It's just I wish this was a little longer. Just a tad. I did not try the micro expansion with Coatl the card game. But I would say definitely if you see both and you could only pick up one, Coatl, if you see both and you're working on a budget, card game. If you like this and you want to expand more, get both. It'll be fine. I probably just blew out the microphone by doing that. So Coatl, once again, very nice game. Pascal Prozard and Etienne Dubois-roy. I'm very sorry if I mispronounced your names there. And this is published by Synopsis Games with the card games, same designers. This is published by Synopsis Games as well, and also distributed in the U.S., I believe, by Greater Than Games. So that's what we have this week. Sorry, not this week. Today, Coatl and Coatl the card game. I'll see you next time, everybody.